So, team, I think we can start. We have a nice quorum. I know they'll still be trickling in, so hopefully they won't miss too much. But as we progress, we just want to let you know that this is being recorded. So, in case your internet drops for any reason or you have to step away, we will send you the link later on. Just as a reminder, it's also in the chat of where you can find our recordings. So, again, welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Liza Pacao. I'm with the U.S. Forest Service International Programs. This is our fourth iTree International Academy, and it's so great to be back after a 2-year break. And we hope that everybody is ready for this academy. And this is the first session of the first track, which means it's open to everybody. And excuse me, I'm joined by a wonderful, wonderful team of folks from the U.S. Forest Service, as well as the Davey Tree Expert Company and our partners overseas. Excuse me. And so with that, I just wanted to give a few housekeeping notes. As I mentioned, this is being recorded. There will be no homework in these first two sessions. So this session is today. The next one is next week with a new link. And then Akshat Tyagi and I will be narrowing down the list of applicants. We have a wonderful group of 205 applicants. So unfortunately, we only have 40 spaces. So we'll either put you in groups or we may ask you to apply again next year. But in any case, the third session will start after the new year. And we ask that you do come in time as you have today. We also ask that if you are going to be part of our second track, that you send us all your homework in a timely fashion. That's all we really ask. And with that, I want to turn this over to Scott from the Davey Tree Expert Company to welcome everybody on behalf of Davey.
Well, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us all today, and thank you, Liza, for that introduction. My name is Scott Mackin. I'm with the Davey Tree Expert Company, and I just wanted to, give you a couple minutes on kind of the Davey perspective, why we're in this and what we're doing today. So, for those of you who are not familiar, which I imagine it's a significant number of you, but not familiar with the Davey Tree Expert Company. We are one of the largest and oldest tree care companies in the world today, concentrating on all manners of arboriculture, urban forestry, and environmental consulting. And our company goes back a long time, about 140 years, and we've consistently focused on a commitment to improving the health and sustainability of our natural environment as we've grown as a company. And that includes, everything from managing urban forests to supporting large-scale ecosystem restoration projects. Our mission has always been to protect and enhance the green spaces that connect our communities and improve our quality of life. Today, I think preserving trees and managing our urban forests, what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of weeks, goes beyond just planting and pruning trees, how we used to do business. Today, we require data-driven tools that measure the true value of our community forests, tools that help everyone from decision makers to everyday citizens see the tangible benefits of trees. And that, of course, leads us to our topic du jour, which is iTree. And, thinking back a little bit, 20 years ago, it was the Forest Service who approached Davey to help them deliver what was then the emerging science of ecosystem services quantification. A couple years later, 2006, we released the first version of iTree 18 years ago. It's hard to believe. In those early days, I will tell you, it was not super smooth for users. We had a handful of users. It was all desktop software. It was a challenge sometimes just to install and use the tools. And the tools were really focused back then on municipal foresters, those people who manage our street trees, our park trees within our communities. But despite those difficulties, I think, and the kind of narrow focus on the usership, that first generation of users persevered. They gave us feedback, and over the years, we added new science and new tools to the suite as they became available. Fast forward to today, and iTree has really become, the global standard for measuring the benefits of trees. We now have over 1 million users across 180 different countries. And it's not just municipal foresters using iTree anymore. It is foresters, it is planners, it is teachers, it is arborists, it is homeowners, it is school children, to name just a few. And thinking back, over the course of those 20 years, back to 2006, I do believe that iTree marked a piece of history for us, insofar as we help change the way people think and talk about trees, where no longer are trees thought of just simple amenities that are nice to have, but now we can talk about them as vital components of our community infrastructure. I think the iTree partnership and you, as you get to know iTree and the rest of our collective users, are not just advocating, for trees and the importance of trees. You wouldn't be here if you weren't an advocate already. But I think what we're trying to do is equip people worldwide with the tools and knowledge to act on the most pressing global issues of our time. Human health, think about climate resilience, think about environmental equity. That whole idea that we should all have access to the benefits of greenery and trees. So keeping it short with that, I welcome you all to the iTree family. We consider you our next generation of iTree ambassadors, and we really look forward to taking this iTree journey with you over the next few weeks. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Dave Bloniars, who is one of the grandfathers of iTree.
Scott makes me feel old because somehow it was like a little movie playing in my head because I was at those initial meetings and
Yes, you were.
I remember it would take we'd have to have a whole morning session on how to install iTree on your computer. And it was a terrific learning experience for all of us. But over the years, we've developed this community and with now 1 million users and with the feedback of folks like you, that's what's made iTree so much better than it was in those initial stages back when we began. And it's been a fun ride for all of us. I've been here. Scott's been here pretty much since then. He doesn't look that old. And then our team here, and then we were lucky enough. One of the cool things about this, or exciting things about this, it was one of the first times that the Forest Service entered into public-private partnership on projects. And at that time, oh no, we always kept separate that the private companies or the institutions would be on one side and then the Forest Service would be on the other. But here we were able to show a model that shows how we can work together and really provide something that's been so successful and so exciting, and then with this widespread distribution. The 180 countries between Scott Macco, and then I'll introduce you to Jason and Krista and Liza. They've probably been to, I'm guessing, at least 50 of those countries over the years to work with folks and to just immerse themselves in the local methodologies and the ways that folks around the country or around the world do things. And we're excited with the International Academy. I think Liza said this is our 4th time doing the international one, but every time all of our team here learns so much from you. I think that's the most important thing for me. I love iTree. I work with iTree a lot, and you'll see as we go through the next sessions. But I'll talk to you a little bit about working with young kids all the way up to university folks, as well as college level, high school, all of those. So I have some stories that I will talk about, and each of our team here has some great things, and We all work with communities around the world, so that's the exciting part. So let's just quickly, I want to introduce you to the whole team. So Liza, you all know Liza, at least from today's introduction, but I think many of you know her on a personal level and the work that she does with the Forest Service International Program. So, and Liza's basically responsible for bringing iTree out to the world. So thanks for that, Liza, and we're excited about it. And then you just got introduced to Scott, but Scott's a director at the Davy Institute, and he's a director of research and development. And he's out in Seattle, Washington. So Liza's in Washington, in the capital of the United States. Scott's out on the west coast of the United States in Washington State, a beautiful part of the country out there. So he has a little different perspective on some things, and he's always 4 hours behind us. So, like you, some of you here in the middle of the night. So Scott's always been a trooper, and he really is the glue that holds us together. And Liza is the glue that holds our international team together. So we appreciate that. And then we got Dr. Jason Henning. Where's Jason's right there. And Jason is a research urban forester, and he works for the Davy Tree Expert Company, the Davy Institute, and then for the U.S. Forest Service. So it really is who put this up? I didn't even see the team there.
I snuck it in, Dave.
Was I supposed to have this? It doesn't. Anyway.
No. We're good.
So you got Scott. So Scott said it says here the Davy Institute. Okay, so Jason, he gets two paychecks, and it's kind of cool because he has two bosses at the Forest Service and Davy. So he's scrambling to make sure that he takes care of the work that is assigned to him and that he creates. And he's another member of our team that's been here pretty much for the last at least Jason, what do you think? 13 years?
12. Yep, maybe 13. We're closing in.
Yeah. I didn't change my calendar, so he's been here a long time too. Krista Heinlein, who also works out of Philadelphia with Jason, and she has the same kind of arrangement, working with the Forest Service and the Davy Institute. And so it's kind of interesting because they get involved in a lot of other projects beyond iTree, but they always seem to have a way to bring iTree into the work that they do with our Forest Service teams, and then traditionally with the iTree team here. So that's kind of a really opportunity that they have that many in the Forest Service don't have. Okay, so we got all of our domestic team and our international team with Liza, but now we're going to move to some of our team members that from around the world. Okay, so first would be Fabiola Lopez, and Fabiola has been working with us since day one, at least the last 6 or 7 years, and working with the international programs. And she's lives down in Mexico, and she's been a great advocate and has really put Mexico on the map. And the iTree programming down there is amongst the most robust in the world. And then we have Anna Castillo, and she is with the Davy team. She's an iTree support and outreach director. And Anna, are you in Knoxville, Tennessee?
That's right.
Yeah, so she's out in the middle of the country. So again, we have folks all over the country here, and then folks all around the world. So Anna does the support and outreach. She'll probably be answering a lot of your questions as you type those into the chat today as we go through. And so thank you for that. And then we have from New Delhi, we have Akshat Tiega. Akshat has been one of the most, I don't know what you'd call it, but the enthusiastic supporter of iTree, and has basically introduced iTree to India. And he works in a community group organization called Give Me Trees Trust, where he has spread the word on iTree, the value of urban trees, and the importance of community. So he and Akshat has been very instrumental working with his international team of folks that you see here, working with Liza, but more importantly, doing his work in India, which is, again, amongst one of the most robust iTree programming in the world. So that, I think, is all of our team. And we're all going to be here. And my name, as I said, is Dave Boniers. You can just call me Dr. Dave. And what I do is get in the way and try to just no, I'm going to teach you a little bit. My main thing that I love working with is the community, and we'll talk to you a little bit about that, of how iTree can really be that bridge between science and people, people, residents and volunteers, citizen scientists, and how we can sort of bridge that learning gap at the age, coming up from fifth grade kids all the way through, as I said. I just worked with some third year medical school students. So they're basically doctors looking at iTree, and I've been doing that for about 4 years, and they get so excited. They're just like the fifth and sixth graders we have, when they can actually calculate the value of an individual tree or look at their urban forest or the city they grow up in. Okay, so those are some of our team members. And I think, do I need to introduce, are we going to go from there to Krista? I'm going to introduce you. You're going to talk a little bit about the communication and the academy systems, where we'll give you a few things, and then you're going to introduce the class map to us.
Thanks, Dave. Excuse me. Yeah, we're all set. We're just going to go ahead and touch on a little bit more housekeeping. But hi, everybody. Welcome once again. I'm Krista, and I know you've been hearing a lot from our video faces already this morning. But we did want to take the opportunity to sort of let you know what our intentions are for how these first two sessions and the Academy series as a whole are going to progress. And we're really grateful for the segue that Dave Bloniars gives us in terms of he's worked with all of us for a very long time. He has worked with and has championed iTree for a very long time. And he is a great catalyst for having the sorts of anecdotal information. He's not getting in the way, but the ways that we tell our story and the way that we talk about the benefits of trees and the growing importance of bringing that information through science to the public and to the greater international community at large. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to let you know that, yes, we will be using the Zoom platform for the duration of this series. Liza will be our facilitator in terms of making sure that everybody has the appropriate link for each session. And as she described, there will be a series of differently intensive sessions that follow these first two sessions. So hopefully you're in the right place and you're going to be able to join us again maybe next week as we start to work through some of these tools. And as you know, just as a note, feel free to let us know in the chat window whenever you have a question. If you find somebody, it happens to be here that you know and you're interested in sharing information with them, we're looking to this as a casual and a familiar setting where we can talk to each other and attendees can talk to one another. So don't hesitate to ask any questions. No question is too small or too complicated. If it is too complicated, we'll make sure you know how to reach us and we can talk about it more fully later. But we have put together we have time within this framework to address those questions as they come through. So you don't necessarily need to feel like you have to hold those. But having said that, I want to take just a minute to introduce you a little bit to the iTree website, which is where you're going to find a lot of the materials that are related to the workshop and all of the sessions. So itreetools.org obviously gives you access to all of the iTree tools that we're going to be talking about. And it's also where you can access the information to support your projects and to discover how to contact us for additional support. As you work through the website, you will find information about international use, which is relevant to the projects that hopefully you're carrying forward or that you're already working on. So if you're interested in discovering some of the other things that people have done, We're going to talk more specifically about where people are working on iTree and what it means to be integrated and what to do if maybe your country isn't yet. So we're going to take a look at all of those things, but the website is where you might find useful translations as well as help guides and videos. Yes, we even have our own YouTube channel. Woot, woot. Anyway, there are multiple series for many of the tools where you can access video learning to look at things as a refresher or to look back at information at your own pace or to look at tool capacities more specifically. One of the things that we'll be utilizing throughout and probably more primarily as we get to the more intensive second set, but the iTree website is hosting a Winter 2025 International Academy webpage where you will be able to access all of the materials that we'll be talking about throughout the course of the sessions. And you'll be able to take a look at the schedule, anything upcoming, and posted information, including recordings from sessions that have passed. So that was just to sort of give you a little bit of a, familiar look at the resources we're going to try to make available. It will be housed on our website. And I did want to go ahead and specifically remind everybody that in order to, sorry, I had our website posted earlier. And all I mean by that is not our website, the URL for our website, but also looking at the information where you can reach us via our regular support email address is what I'm trying to show everybody. So just if you reach out to that info@itreetools.org at any point throughout the course of this series, we're happy to talk to you further about your unique experiences and how, the things that we've, if you have additional questions about iTree. So one of the last things that I want to do is go ahead and give you a little bit of a teaser. One of the things that we're doing this session is we're introducing a map, and you can access this map by, I'm still on the wrong thing. You can access this map by going to the link that I am about to put in the chat. And this isn't actually the map. I'm not trying to confuse you, but what we're trying to do is organize what will ultimately be a map. If you fill out this survey, if you fill it out today, if you fill it out after we're finished, we will actually go ahead and get you the link to this just because we're interested in populating our map as we've done with previous academies. And what we're interested in doing is not only taking a look at the scope of all of the people and the projects that have brought iTree to different international communities, but we're also going to use this as sort of a fun way for people to talk to each other. One of the things we've asked people in the past is to talk about foods and things that are specific to their location. And in this year's survey, we're going to ask you to identify something that your location is well known for, even if it's not across the globe. It's the most popular thing that you have where you are, and hopefully we'll spark some conversation. But we like looking at the map. We like looking at the big picture of bringing this international community together and the work that Liza's team at International Programs has made possible. But not only that, it's going to work next time around as a fun little icebreaker. So yeah, I've put the survey in the chat and we'll distribute it again. So please get yourself on our map. Again, thank you so much for being here today. And to get things started with a closer look at iTree specifically, I'm going to hand this over to Jason Henning, and it's all you, I think, Jason.
Krista, this is Dave. Sorry to interrupt, but in the chat is the, in case you didn't get it, the iTree, the address to send in any kind of questions that you have, plus the URL for the iTree Academy website.
Yes.
Jason and Anna put those in. So
Thank you,
for
Anna.
doing that. And
Perfect.
everyone is trying, we'll keep you in suspense what the real name of iTree is. We have some great answers here, but I wish you guys were around when we named it, but that unfortunately no one's got it yet. But all right, sorry to interrupt, Jason and Krista.
No, you're great, Dave. We're all right on time so far. So yeah, I have the job of sort of introducing the actual iTree tools, trying to give you a little perspective about where they come from and how we got to where we are today with these tools to estimate the ecosystem services that trees provide. Just to kind of orient us a little bit as we go through the academy here, the first sessions 1 and 2, as Liza mentioned, that's open to everybody. So we're really glad to have you all here. Those will be pretty high level since this is an 8-session course. We will introduce some of the tools. Our goal is really to get you to a point where you understand what iTree is, and so that you can maybe choose among the tools for what might be right for projects in your location or with the partners that you work with. So that's session 1 and 2. We'll go through things pretty quick just so that we can introduce you to as much as possible. Then the more in-depth sessions that are the invite only, those will include homework, and we'll go through sort of each of the tools in detail and try to get you to a point, if you make it to those sessions, where you can actually do an iTree Eco project in your location and get to generating some results that are of value to the projects and people you work with. So from there, just our specifics for today. We already went through our welcome and talked about the logistics, and that was a real quick what we're going to learn today. But I'm going to go through the iTree concepts and keys, kind of how to decide amongst those tools, where the tools came from, and how to make the most of using the iTree tools. Then we'll go through a little 5-minute break, probably at the top of the hour. And Anna will introduce some more of the website and online resources that you can access and talk a little bit about iTree database. That'll be kind of the first tool that we talk about in depth. And I'll give a little bit of preview of that and why it's an important place to start. But then we're going to have about a half hour where we will hear from Maria in Colombia, Fabiola in Mexico, and Akshat in India, who are all local experts in the use of iTree. They have used iTree in their locations. They've taught other folks how to use iTree in their locations. So they are really great resources. We on the iTree team really know how the tools are developed, but those folks really know how to use the tools, especially outside the US. So they're going to be great resources as we go through this course, and hearing from them is always really useful. And we always like to hear from you too. So feel free, if you have any questions as I go through this or the other speakers go through about what we're talking about, drop them in the chat. There are 7 folks from our team here, and you'll get an answer as quick as they can possibly put it in the chat. So feel free to enter any questions you have in that chat. So I'm going to jump right in, and I've sort of I talk about iTree a lot. As Dave mentioned, I've been here 12 years, and I'm sure I've given 100 iTree presentations over that time. So I'm always trying to think about what these tools mean and how to introduce them and how to use them. And I think this idea of just answering the question of why do we have trees in our communities is really a nice place to start to think about why we have iTree. And when we start to think about that question, we all in our communities, we know where there are trees. We walk by trees every day, but iTree really provides us with answers that are supported by data. So we can get to what are the benefits those trees are providing to people, and what is the monetary value or social value of those benefits. So we can take that kind of really broad question and we can answer it with data. So we can talk to all sorts of different folks about the values and benefits that trees provide. This is all backed by peer-reviewed science. This science largely comes from the U.S. Forest Service. The iTree Collaborative and some of our key collaborators are at the bottom of the screen there. Really came about as an effort to take this urban forest science that the U.S. Forest Service was generating from a bunch of different research stations and bringing it under one umbrella and getting it out to people like you. So how do we take that sort of detailed science and make it into useful, accessible tools to estimate the value and benefits of trees? I'm going to talk about iTree sort of generally in this first section, but it really is a suite of tools. So there are a bunch of different tools under that iTree heading, and some of them are useful or can be used outside the US and some of them can't. And I'll try and at least get you to understand why that is and which tools are most useful in your location as we go through today. These tools are always improved, so we're always making improvements. We're adding new locations, we're adding new supporting data, we're updating models. And that's really important to understand. So if you go ahead and use the iTree tools today and you come back in 3 or 4 years and you run the same tree through, you're going to see that the numbers have changed because we have better understanding. The science has improved, our data has become refined, we've got more detailed information. So just keep that in mind and know that these tools are completely free and our technical support is completely free. So we're going to use that info@iTree Tools email if you ever need to contact us outside of the sessions, but that's how we contact anyone who needs support with the tools at any time. We also have things like office hours, and we'll talk about some of that later. But do know that these tools are there to be used, and we are here to help you use them. So just to kind of put this in perspective, Scott mentioned how long the tools have been around, and we've been kind of tracking their use since about 2012, and we've been tracking this over time. And Dr. Dave mentioned that we've just this year, we've gone over a million iTree users, but you can see sort of how quickly this usage has grown over time. And we're getting more than 150,000 users a year. And I think that's going to continue in 2024. We've just sort of looked at some of the preliminary numbers. But in this graph, one of the really nice things to note when we talk to international audiences is you can see we've got those blue bars that represent countries outside the US, and those are actually growing at a faster rate than our users inside the US. So we're really seeing a lot of growth from folks just like you using the iTree tools outside the US to convey the benefits of trees where they live and work. And I mentioned that technical support, and just so that you know that we are happy to talk to folks like you. The blue bars again are our international users. So this is how our technical support has changed over the years. So you can see back in 2010, we probably had about 15% of our technical support contacts that we had were international users, and we're up to over 50% back in 2023. So we are more than happy to talk to folks like you. We do it all the time. And with our resource experts like Akshat and Fabiola and Maria, we can even provide local expertise and connect you with those folks as well. So do feel free to reach out to us at any point in time, and know that this kind of growth in the tools is really powered, at least in recent years, by international growth. So just to orient you again, this is a suite of tools, as I mentioned. So we've got a bunch of tools under that iTree heading. And our big flagship tool, this is where all the science goes first, where all our development and new data ends up first. It's called iTree Eco. So iTree Eco is really the flagship tool, and all our other tools are supported by iTree Eco. So being that flagship and larger tool, it kind of has a steeper learning curve. We'll talk a little bit more about iTree Eco in detail next time around, but I'll give you sort of a sneak peek at what goes on into iTree Eco. But do know that it takes the most effort to sort of do an iTree Eco project compared to some of our other tools. So when we talk about those other tools, we have what we call our core individual tree tools. So all of these tools are online tools. So iTree Eco is installed software. You have to install it on a Windows PC. But all these core individual tree tools are web-based, and you're going to enter data about individual trees, and it's going to report out those ecosystem services and benefits of those trees. So those are tools like MyTree, which we'll talk about in some more detail next time around, and tools like iTree Planting and iTree Design. Then we have what we call our core canopy tools. So these tools are useful for assessing not individual trees, but how much tree canopy cover you have in your city or area of interest. And of these tools, we'll really focus on iTree Canopy. But it's important to note that all of these individual tree tools and all these core canopy tools are all web-based, and they're all built off of the science and information that comes from iTree Eco. And then we have what we call utilities. So there's a bunch more utilities in here. So now up here, I've got, over about 10, 11, 12 different tools. So that can be a little overwhelming, but since we're talking to an international audience, we can narrow that down a little bit because some of these tools only work internationally. So that's tools like iTree Eco, MyTree, iTree Design. I gave the yellow star there because it works to some extent internationally. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we have tools like iTree Canopy and a few tools in utilities that are a little more detailed. For the sake of our International Academy here, we can narrow it down even more so that we don't sort of overwhelm you with these 12 different tools. We're going to focus on iTree Eco, MyTree, really our simplest to use entry-level tool when we're talking about individual trees. iTree Canopy, our entry-level tool for assessing the amount of canopy cover you have and the benefits it provides. And then iTree Database. And iTree Database we're going to talk a little bit more about today. And I'll talk in a minute about why iTree Database is an important tool for you to understand as an international user. So when we talk about how these tools are related, I mentioned that iTree Eco is our big flagship tool. So again, that's where all the information, all our science is going to go first. But that feeds directly into something we call the iTree engine. So the iTree engine uses information from iTree Eco, simplifies it down, and makes it so we can make these simple to use online tools that deal with individual trees. So that iTree engine really supports, it's based on iTree Eco, and it supports a simple tool like MyTree. We also have, when we talk about our canopy tools, those also come from iTree Eco. So essentially we take iTree Eco and we put in some trees and we estimate how much tree canopy cover they represent. Once we know that, we can say, well, for 1 hectare of tree canopy cover, what are the benefits we get? And that's how we can estimate those benefits based on tree canopy cover. And that feeds directly into our iTree Canopy tool. So this is kind of the relationship among those core tools that we're going to talk about in this International Academy. But how do we make it so that iTree Eco works everywhere? How do we get the underlying data in there? And that's where that iTree database tool comes in. So if you want to get iTree to work in your country, you can provide us with local data through our iTree database. It's really just a web platform where you can provide information about your location. You can provide data about weather and pollution in your location, and we can integrate that into iTree Eco, and it'll make its way to those other tools as well. So how exactly does that work, and what does that look like on a big scale? So we have iTree Eco fully integrated in a number of countries. So that means these countries actually provided us with a whole bunch of underlying data about weather and pollution all throughout their country, about the species that are located in their country, about the geography of their country, and the census data, the people who live there and how they're distributed. So those are all the green countries here. So if you're located in one of these green countries, iTree Eco will work the same for you as it does for us here in the US. If you're located in one of these blue countries, at least one city in your country was added to iTree Eco through this database platform. So there was some user in your country who decided, I want my city to be available in iTree Eco. I'm going to upload data about my location, possibly about air pollution, possibly about weather. And then my city is going to be permanently available within iTree Eco. So within all these blue countries, you have at least one city in there. If you live in any of these countries that are still in gray and you're attending the iTree Academy, we'd love for you to find a city in your country that you want to add to iTree Eco. And you can do that through iTree Database. And Anna will talk a little bit more about how that looks in a few minutes here. But these are all the cities, over 400 cities supplied by individual users all throughout the globe that we have added to iTree Eco. And one of the really cool things about this map, and comparing it to, Krista mentioned those maps we create of the users that attend our International Academy. These cities that have been added by users here, especially where we've got really dense locations like in Central America and Bangladesh, and these have been users who have gone through the iTree Academy before, have seen the value of the tools, and have added one or oftentimes multiple cities to our tools. So a lot of the countries that have been turned blue on this map are because of users like you who've gone through the Academy and wanted their location in iTree Eco. So again, iTree Eco is that flagship tool. So in order to support things like MyTree having localized results or iTree Canopy having localized results, you need to first do iTree Eco in your country. So iTree Eco is always going to be the starting point. So getting your country on this map, getting a city in your country on this map is going to be one of the first things if you don't have iTree Eco where you are. So kind of digging down a little bit into how the tools actually work, we like to talk about this structure, function, value framework. So all of the iTree tools, whether they're those canopy-based tools, which we sometimes call our top-down tools, or whether they're those individual tree tools, which we sometimes call our bottom-up tools, you have to make some assessment of the forest structure. So for our top-down tools, you're going to have to make some assessment of how much tree canopy cover you have. For our bottom-up tools, you're going to have to go out typically and measure some trees. So we talk about measuring the tree diameter and recording things like the tree species. So you provide that structure information, and we go ahead and within the iTree tools, we estimate what the trees are doing on the landscape. So what is the function? If trees are out there and they're growing, we know that they're photosynthesizing, and when you photosynthesize, you take in carbon. So that's one of those functions that we can estimate. So how much carbon is your tree taking in? Or possibly how much shade is the tree providing, and what effects does that have on energy use? So those are the types of functions we get to. And then within the iTree tools, we're always trying to then estimate values. So this can be sort of a social value, things like improving human health, maybe reducing lost work days because you improve air quality by the trees on your landscape, or they can be monetary values. So what is the monetary value of those benefits of the functions that the trees provide? What is the monetary value of taking carbon out of the air? So that's always going to be within all the iTree tools. You'll see this. You're going to input some information about the structure. iTree is going to summarize that structure in some way. It's going to estimate the function of those trees on the landscape, and then it's going to put a value on them. And you'll see this again and again across all the tools that we introduce. So what are some of those functions and values that iTree estimates? We have sort of 4 core ecosystem services that we talk about across all the tools. There's some more specific ecosystem services, especially within that detailed iTree Eco tool, but all the tools are going to estimate these 4 core ecosystem services. So the first one is energy. So if a tree is planted close to a residential structure, it's going to provide shade in the summer. It's going to provide a windbreak to reduce some of the heating necessary in the winter. So it can estimate the energy impacts of those trees on residential structures. And obviously the monetary value there is going to be how much less do you have to pay for electricity or heating fuel for your home. Then we estimate what we call hydrology benefits. So how much are the trees contributing to keeping stormwater out of the storm drain or becoming surface runoff? So how do we contribute to reducing flooding or stormwater overflows? Another function we can estimate, and we put a monetary value on that. Then we estimate how much carbon dioxide the tree is taking up. So anytime a tree grows, it's taking carbon out of the atmosphere and adding it to the tissues in the tree. So we're going to estimate that carbon uptake for all the trees you input into the iTree tools. And lastly, we're going to estimate air quality. So it interacts with air pollutants. Some of them are like fine particulates, like particulate matter. Oh, sorry.
So I think Jason just had a connectivity issue. So while we're waiting,
I think
are you
I'm
there?
back, Liza.
Okay.
It was actually Zoom crashed for some reason. So
You
we'll
need,
keep going.
yeah, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm good. It was just Zoom. It wasn't me that crashed. All right. Okay. So hopefully you can see my slide here.
Yeah, we got it.
All right. So I think I was talking about air quality, but that's the last of the 4 core ecosystem services that iTree will estimate how much air pollution the leaf surface area of your trees are taking out of the atmosphere. So just to keep moving along here, so we also put that monetary value. So anytime we have any of those ecosystem services, we're going to put a monetary value on it. This is a really nice example of one of sort of an infographic created from an iTree Eco project that was run at a city level. We actually have this infographic on our website. So if you wanted to recreate this with your own local monetary values after you've done an iTree Eco project, you can do that as well. But this is the type of thing, especially at a high level summary result, that you can create with an iTree Eco project. And this covers all trees from forest to city center. So depending on what's important in the location where you work, you can do natural forest. So if preserving natural forests and understanding what they're doing for the folks that live nearby is really important, you can do those. If just doing individual trees near homes or near schools, things like that are important, you can do that. If you want to just do private property, if you want to look at the benefits of trees in parks, or just public trees, so trees that are managed by the government as opposed to on private property. There are all sorts of scales that you can run iTree projects on. So it's really important to note that even though this sort of started as urban forest science, it is applicable from natural forest all the way up to single trees in really dense downtown centers. So you can use this across all sorts of ranges. And so as you start to think about these iTree tools, it's good to think about how they might be applicable to you. So if maybe flooding is a really big issue, then maybe you want to think about how maybe we could use these tools at a watershed level. If you're in a larger city, maybe you want to do it at the city level. If you want to just focus on parks, or maybe you work for a sort of regional government, there are all these scales that we can start to consider how to use the iTree tools. And when we do this, anytime we do this, especially when we're talking about those individual tree tools, it all starts with what we call inventory data. So this is a matter of understanding what you have. So anytime we want to manage our urban forest, manage the trees around us so that they benefit people, we have to start by knowing what we have. So within the iTree tools, especially the individual tree tools like iTree Eco, this starts with measuring those trees and creating what we call an inventory. So this is the field data. This is the piece that you're going to have to provide into any of those individual tree iTree tools. So this can include things like DBH, that's the diameter breast height. So that's the diameter of the tree at 1.3 meters above the ground. And then things like tree species, tree condition, how healthy is the tree? What is the land use? Is the tree on residential property versus commercial or industrial property? That can influence how some of those benefits are calculated. And then things about the tree crown. So how tall is your tree? How wide is the tree crown? How far off the ground is the crown base? All of those things are going to be important field data to feed into the iTree models. And this next slide might be a little scary, so we'll take it one step at a time here. But we all start with field data. So that's the part that you're going to provide. But then within the iTree tools, we have local weather, precipitation, and pollution data. So for every hour of a calendar year within iTree Eco, we have local precipitation data, how much precipitation is coming in. We have local weather data like temperature and how much sunlight is available. And then we have local hourly pollution data. So we have 5 core pollutants, and for every hour of a calendar year, we're going to have the air concentration of those pollutants. So all that data is going to go into iTree Eco, and this is the scary part here. But the key thing to note is that you really just need to provide that field data. And when you provide that field data, at a very minimum, if you were just going to provide the minimum amount of data, it would be that DBH, so the tree's diameter, and the species. Those are kind of the 2 pieces of information we need. So if you want to keep this super simple, that's all you need to know. But I mentioned that we have all this background data. So we have all that pollution data, all that data about weather and your location. So even things like knowing how many people are in your city, that tells us something about how many people are available to say breathe the cleaner air from air pollution removal. So that's how we can estimate those monetary values. But all of that stuff in the light blue there is actually in the background of iTree Eco. So you only need to provide that if your country's not already integrated. And in that case, you provide that information through that iTree database platform. So that's what Anna's going to talk about in a little bit. And from there, from just things as simple as species and DBH, if your location is already in iTree Eco, we can provide you with all these ecosystem service estimates and their monetary value. So what do you get out of an iTree project, specifically an iTree Eco project? We will summarize the structure. So if you inventory your trees and you tell us that species and DBH and that other information about your individual trees, we can summarize things like the structure of that forest. And this is just a copy of a graph that's created in iTree Eco, telling you how your species breaks down. So what is the percentage of different tree species in your city? But we can go a step further. We can go to what we call a size or age class distribution. This will always be in iTree Eco as well. So this graph here is telling us for our different species in this city, what are their different sizes? So we can see these larger sizes. These go up to about 24 to 30 inches, so maybe 50 centimeters or so. These are kind of our mature trees that are doing a lot of the ecosystem service work. But we don't have a lot of small trees in those same species, so they're going to be replaced by some other trees. And in this case, they are some trees like ginkgo and American elm that are going to come in to replace those bigger trees. So we can start to make some strategic decisions about our species composition in our city based on some of these structural results that you get from iTree Eco. So this is just to kind of give you a brief glimpse into some of the information that you can get out of iTree Eco and that you can use to start to evaluate and manage your urban forest. And iTree Eco can go from that kind of real general structural information to super detailed information. Since we have that information about hourly precipitation and hourly ozone concentration, iTree Eco will actually report that out for every hour of the year. How are your trees impacting things like ozone reduction, and how are they impacting all of the pollutants? How are they impacting stormwater runoff for every hour of the year? So we can go from kind of general, what is my kind of species distribution, to really specific and detailed information like these hourly ozone concentrations. And with this ozone concentration, you can sort of see what happens. This is in a city in North America, so we have periods where there aren't leaves on the trees. And we really run relatively low on how much benefit those trees are providing as far as ozone reduction when we don't have leaves. So these are the kinds of specific results you can start to get into. So I just kind of want to wrap up in my last few minutes here about kind of the general ways that folks use iTree. And there are lots and lots of ways to use iTree. And you'll see this as we talk about the different tools and we go through the rest of the academy here, and even as Akshat, Maria, and Fabiola talk in a little bit. But I think kind of there's sort of broad buckets. There's education. So we have really simple tools like MyTree. They allow you to connect with students and connect with young folks who are going to be sort of the future of our urban forest and our urban forest managers, and who are really going to reap the benefits of the trees we plant today. They can also be a nice public engagement, so you can communicate with the public about the benefits of trees through some of the more simple iTree tools like MyTree. Then you can start to move into advocacy. So we can show the benefits of trees to policymakers, and we can create policies focused on maximizing tree benefits. iTree can be really useful, especially those monetary values, for convincing politicians and sort of skeptical or doubtful audiences about the benefits of trees. And it can be a really nice tool for accounting for exactly the benefits of trees that you may be planting or that you're supporting on the landscape are providing. And finally, we can get to strategic management. So how do we take what we know about our trees and how do we maximize the benefits those are providing to people? It's always going to come back to connecting those trees to people. So by using iTree, we can say, hey, maybe we should work on improving the health of our trees so that we have more trees survive to provide more benefits. Or maybe we should try planting different species that are going to get larger because we know that large trees provide more benefits, because we've seen that evidence through iTree. So these are kind of the broad buckets. To get to a few specific examples, I mentioned MyTree. That's that super easy to use tool. It's actually meant to be used on your phone, and Dr. Dave will demonstrate it in a little more detail next week. But we have an example here from Huyen Do in Vietnam with Gaia, an NGO there. And she put together this MyTree activity for Tree Lovers Day. So she had this handout that she could hand to people. They would run through MyTree, learn a little bit about how to measure trees, and put all that information in MyTree to see the benefits of those trees. And we have we'll share all these slides afterwards, but there's a link to this information on our website as well that you can get to. iTree Eco, when we start to talk about that advocacy piece, iTree Eco can be really powerful. So this is an example from Beth Caston in General Santos city in the Philippines. Beth was a GIS specialist in the city, but she went through this international academy, and she's gone through some other trainings with Liza and her team at international programs. But the first thing she did is she did a nice small pilot project, just measuring trees in the park outside of City Hall. She used some students to help do this, and they were able to summarize the benefits of those trees. And folks coming and going from City Hall could see the students measuring those trees and be introduced to the benefits the trees were providing through iTree Eco. So this was a relatively small project, but it supported getting inventorying doing a larger inventory of all the trees in the city, mapping those trees, and understanding the benefits that those trees are providing. So iTree Eco really supports the information so that policymakers can understand the benefits of trees and then support better managing the urban forest resource. And lastly, we can start to get to things like strategic management, and equity has been a really has been a lot in the news lately, especially around trees. So how do we get trees to the people who need them most? So this is a nice example with iTree Canopy, and iTree Canopy can be used internationally. So you could replicate this where you are. This comes from a professor at Mesa Community College here in the States, and he had his students do iTree Canopy projects in neighborhoods throughout his city to estimate how much tree canopy cover there was in each one of these neighborhoods. Then he graphed that amount of tree canopy cover versus the income. So how much household income there was in each one of these neighborhoods. So now he had a map of where there was low tree canopy cover and also people who were relatively lower income who probably needed that tree cover more to help with things like the ecosystem services that trees provide, whether that's energy or improve health through air pollution removal, or any of those other ecosystem services that we can estimate with iTree Eco. So we can take a really simple project and start to talk about equity and putting trees where it would be most strategic to serve the people who need them most. And there's lots and lots of opportunities with iTree, but the things that we see most often is that it can be a really nice tool to start to think more strategically and equitably about how your forest is on the landscape to address issues like sustainability, resiliency, public health, equity. All of those things can start to be supported in policies by including iTree Eco or iTree tools in general in the work that you do. It can be a really nice way to support the delivery of tree benefits. So rather than just putting more trees on the landscape, how do we make sure that the benefits that those trees are providing are being delivered to the people that we want to receive those benefits? So iTree can help you make you more accountable. So you can assess maybe things like mortality. So we know that not all trees are going to live, and we can run those through the iTree tools. We can run scenarios. Well, if we take care of these trees, we're going to have lower mortality, then we're going to receive more benefits. So you can make the case for more maintenance of the trees that you put on the landscape and are supporting on the landscape. So there are lots of different ways to use iTree, lots of opportunities to incorporate them in everything from advocacy to education. And finally, I just want to wrap up with talking about ways that you can start to think about how to use these tools effectively. So it always starts with iTree, they are just tools. So you can use them for all sorts of different things. But I think to be most effective, it really starts with deciding why you want to use these. So what are the biggest challenges? So maybe it's air pollution, and Akshat will talk about this in Delhi, or maybe it's flooding, as we've seen in Ukraine and elsewhere. I think there was a bunch of flooding in Poland recently, and they used iTree Eco recently in a tree tagging campaign in that country to start to raise awareness of the benefits that trees provide and potentially reducing flooding. So there are all sorts of ways to use iTree, and there are ways to use these tools to address challenges specific to your location. So you don't have to sort of take our word for it or replicate examples that we have, but let us know what works and what's important where you are. And when you're going to use these tools, it's always good to understand the tools, advantages, and limitations. So that's what we're going to try and get through in the next 2 sessions. So at least you understand which tools to use for specific projects and which tools work best where you are. And it's always important to define your objectives. So getting back to that, what are the issues in your location? Start with what's important for you and make sure you understand that. And always consider pilot projects. So start with a small project that you can either expand or that you can use to show the potential of these tools to address bigger issues where you work. And always connect these issues to connect trees and tree benefits to issues that matter to people. So this is really why we have trees in our cities, is because of the benefits they provide to people. And iTree is really powerful at capturing that relationship. So I've sort of talked about iTree in kind of broad terms here. If you really want to get started with the tools, and we'll talk about MyTree more specifically next time around, but you can give it a try. It's meant to be our simplest to use tool. It's meant to be used with almost no sort of background in trees or tree benefits. If you go ahead and use this, you can use your browser's translate function to translate to your local language. We've also included a currency conversion that uses live currency rates to convert those monetary values to your local currency. So you can give MyTree a try and know that you're not alone. This is our growth in the use of MyTree over the last few years. And you can see just between 2022 and 2023, we grew from about 10,000 users to over 30,000 users. And I know we're going to be over 45,000 users this year. So if you're completely new to iTree and you're still not sure what Jason's talking about here, pop open MyTree and you can see the benefits of a tree that you're familiar with, a tree nearby, really quickly. And lastly, I'm just going to mention this real quick. iTree Design, we have adapted to work in a few countries. So if you're in one of these countries, Colombia, Mexico, Delhi, South Korea, New Zealand, or Canada, you can give iTree Design a try as well. It's a really nice tool if you're talking about the benefits of trees around individual residences and communicating those benefits. But barring that, go ahead and give MyTree a try. I think we're going to go ahead and go for a break here for 5 minutes. So I think we can come back at 10 after the hour. That sounds good to everybody on the team. So we'll come back at 10 after the hour, and Anna will introduce iTree database as the way that you can get your location or country in iTree Eco if it's not there already. And then we'll jump over to our resource experts to hear some of their experiences in country as well. So thanks everybody for your time so far, and we will see you back here in 5 minutes.
Jason, we have a winner, and Liza will introduce you to them after the break.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. That was great.
I'll go ahead and leave this slide up for the break and see you
Or do
all
you
in 5
wanna-
minutes.
What do you want to leave up?
Just this one with the MyTree in case anybody wants to give it a try.
There you go. Good.
And if for those who are from Indonesia today, I haven't seen anybody from Jakarta or other cities. If you could connect with me and let me know who from Indonesia is here, I am taking attendance if we have several people who are in groups. So I'll say this again after break.
And I got us at 10 after the hour. If you want to share your screen and jump in.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, once again, my name is Anna Castillo, and I'm part of the iTree support team. So that info@itreetools.org email that we shared with you all to ask questions, a lot of time I'm the one monitoring. So you have a face to the name of the person that you'll be communicating with. But yeah, I wanted to start first with a couple minutes of sharing some of the online resources that we have. I know Krista covered some of the basics of the website, but we have some other resources that are could be particularly useful for our international audience. If I can get my screen here. All right, I'm actually gonna share this screen. So if you haven't bookmarked this website, I encourage you to do so. Still not.
We're still seeing your slides,
Yeah, I don't know
just
why.
not presenter view.
Give me a second. I don't know why it didn't let me switch back and
Anna,
forth.
do you have two monitors open?
I do.
See, if sometimes you just switch, there's a on PowerPoint.
There
it's-
you go. Thanks, Dave. See,
There
you're
you
good
go.
at technology. Um, but anyway, so yeah, this website, like I mentioned, if I would go ahead and bookmark it, this is where we'll be sharing a lot of the recording for this presentation as well as the slides. So you'll find in that link to where in the world are you to get yourself on the map. But I also wanted to highlight some of these quick links that I think are especially useful for this audience. The first one is the iTree FAQs. So we have these pages that show our frequently asked questions about iTree that include some, general information about will iTree work on my Mac? Which tool should I start with, and what tools are available in my country? It has also specific FAQs to the tools. So if you're working with Canopy, you just go over there and it'll have some commonly asked questions. This is a really good resource, especially as you're getting to know the tools. And chances are, if you have a question, someone else has had it before. So we try to have this page where people can get those answers quickly. If you just want to know the answer and not wait for me to reply, this is a good spot. And we also have this iTree International page that Krista highlighted briefly, but again, a little bit more specific about how the tools work, or which tools work in different countries, as well as the database and a couple of other good links for that. And the iTree manuals and guides and workbooks. So as you're learning eco, especially as you're going out actually into the field and setting up your project, we have some good step-by-step guides to, when you get to a tree, what do you do? What are your measurements? That has all that really valuable information. And thanks to some of our partners, we actually have some of these resources in different languages. So we have people who have translated materials like those manuals into different languages, and we have German, Spanish, French. So this is a really good resource too if you're working in a country where English is not the prominent language. So and it'd be great if you're interested too, or if you already have some materials that you're have in another language, we would love to get them on here as well. And this international reports page has some examples from users who have used iTree in their country and have produced a report or a publication or something like that. We also share them here and break them down by country so you can get an idea of maybe someone in your country has already been using iTree or has used iTree in the past, or find some inspiration, maybe a neighboring country that you could maybe reach out to these people and navigate some of those challenges that like as I said, we can tell you how to use iTree Eco, but there are obviously some unique challenges once you actually get out in the field, and you all are each other's best resource for those kind of things. And but yeah, in the future, if you complete an iTree project, we would also love to share it on here, to share it to inspire others as well. And finally, we have this iTree glossary. So this is useful if you really don't have a forestry background, or there's some terms that you come across that you're not sure exactly what they mean. This could be a good starting point for explaining, or maybe what does DBH mean, what is leaf area index, those kind of things that can get kind of technical. This is a good place to start as well. So again, those are all linked at the bottom of the International Academy webpage. So a really good resource, and like I said, we'll be adding things to this page throughout the course. Okay, let me see if I can get back to my presentation now. Stop, share again. Okay. Alrighty. So
Anna, just a quick note that your voice is coming in and out a little bit, so I don't know if you need to adjust your microphone.
Yeah, I'll put up the volume, but thank you. Do let me know if that happens again. Don't even interrupt me. Is that better?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So wanted to bring this back to, again, this idea of structure, function, and value. So Jason talked about how the iTree model works, that you're estimating the structure of the trees, and then iTree models the function. So modeling the function.
Anna, sorry, this is Liza. Can you yeah, it was going out again.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what to do. Is that better?
No.
No. Okay, let me switch that output. Sorry about that. Better?
Mm-mm.
Okay, let me see. I don't use Zoom most of the time, so that's
no.
It's not yet.
It might be a directional thing. I don't know where if your mic is.
It's on my head.
There,
So
see,
that's why
that's great. Now you're coming in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me know if it keeps having issues. But all right. So function. So what are the trees doing on the landscape? And what iTrees is modeling is the interaction between the trees and the local weather and air pollution. Hold on, I have an idea of why it might be going out. Okay. So having that local weather, the precipitation and the air pollution values is what is able to give you those localized benefits. So in order to do so, then you, as Jason mentioned, you need to get your location somehow integrated into iTree. And that is, again, where the iTree database comes in. So you have the URL there for the database, and this is the portal to basically get iTree Eco to work in your country or your city. And the database is the way that you would enter, for example, for a single location. So say you're in a city that no one's added to the database yet. This is where you would go in and add that location. And I guess, as I mentioned, having that data is important in relation to pollution and precipitation, but we know that not everywhere has complete data, so it is possible to do partial data integration. So say you have your precipitation, but maybe you don't have your pollution. That's okay. We can integrate what you have, or maybe you don't have pollution data for all of those pollutants. Again, that's okay. But this is how you would navigate that process. And the good thing, again, is once you do this process, anyone in that city, or if you do a country integration, will be able to use that information as well. And this is also where you would submit a new species. So I think Alexis, our database manager, said we have over 10,000 species now, but there's still, obviously there's many more. So if you're in a very biodiverse country, there might be some species that are not yet included there. So this is also where you would add those to the database. And to kind of, I know this is a lot, so we'll share this as a PDF for you to review, but just to kind of go over the different options for integration, as well as different considerations. So if you're, say you are your country or you are barely new with iTree, we talked about doing a pilot project. So, you might not be quite ready for a full country integration, and we'd call that the final step, if you will, but you have some information, or maybe you just have the location information for the city that you're working in. That would be, the first step. And, maybe right now you don't have access to precipitation or pollution data, or maybe you only have access to one or the other. This kind of walks through, what to expect, as well as, what kind of results you'd be able to get, not having all of the data for your location. And so for cities, there's no fee associated with the integration. So that is something that you would do yourself, like, or with your partners, to track down the data, for pollution and format it and stuff. And you would submit it through the database. And do note this process can take about, I think Alexis is getting it done within 3 months now, but that is something to think about if you're, really eager to start your project. That would kind of be a first step to want to either check to see if your location is already in the database, or if that's something that you should kind of work to prioritize to be able to run a project. And then finally, once, say you're going all in, such as our partners who we'll talk about in a bit, and go for the full country integration, that is a bit more of an involved process, because there's a lot of decisions and a lot of data that needs to be formatted and shared with us, and there is a bit of money required to go through that process together, because it does require a lot of time from us and the database managers, as well as the developers. So that is a bit more of a involved process, but again, you'll get to hear from people from countries who have gone through this process before. But again, I will share this later, so please don't try to read it all here at once. So yeah, again, so these countries that have gotten integrated into ECO, we have them all listed here. I think the most recent one was actually New Zealand or Ukraine, I'm not sure. So they would be also great resources if you want to talk about, how that process actually went and everything. But doing this full country integration really relies on having, local partners that you are all our local partners now, to be able to track down that data and integrate it across the country. And that can, again, like I said, involve a lot of decisions about the geographic span, for example, or how we want to build this out, but also translations. That we are not might not understand your language, so that would require us to kind of rely on you to translate some of those, like city names or things like that. So the benefit of this, of course, is now that iTree Eco will function basically as seamlessly as it does here in the United States. And kind of a brief overview of what that process would look like. So first would be species data. So as I mentioned, there's already 10,000 species in there, but if there are some that are missing, we would work to integrate those into the database. And the required information at basic is, the genus and species name, the common name, and these other characteristics about the tree. So the leaf type, if it's like a evergreen tree, for example, will have very different benefits than a broadleaf tree. The growth rate and the longevity, all those things are really important of how the iTree models the benefits in relation to, the leaf area index and all that stuff. So having this information is really crucial to accurately model the benefits of the trees. And some of the optional characteristics of the species or the tree species you can put in are if it's native to your region, if it's considered an invasive species, if it's threatened or endangered, or if it has pest risk. which again are, things that you might want to consider if you're managing an urban forest, that if you have a species that is at high risk for certain pests, there's a chance that those trees could die, and that could change your decisions about what trees you're planting, or if you're going to decide to take care of those trees ahead of, the risk of pests. So again, those are the species, and this can also be done, as you go along and you're finding gaps of species that are not already in the database. Broadly, you'll also have to define the administrative division. So this is primarily done through like a shapefile. We use a GIS system to delineate these broader administrative divisions down to province, or whatever it is in your country, and we'll ask you to provide some basic information about the elevation, the population. Again, that relates to the benefits as well. How many people are getting benefits from the trees? The frost-free period, or basically the growing season, if you will, for the trees, is also important for accurately modeling the benefits. And gathering this hourly pollution monitor data is also really important. So, again, the core pollutants that you'll have listed here, we will ask you to format them in a certain way so that they can match everything else in our database. And, we understand that the quality or the availability of pollution stations varies, but that's something that we'll work through to, to address as we would go through the integration. And the weather data, as we mentioned, so again, hourly precipitation, and similarly, that we understand that there's differences in the quality of data, or if there's some data gaps that's, for a few hours or something like that, that's okay. We can work around that. And finally, the local monetary values. So if you do have those, we provide defaults that are based on US values already within iTreeEco. And those are, fine to use. But if you have local monetary values for, say your energy cost, or the treatment of runoff, we can include those as well. And all that will do is make it a more accurate value for your location. But again, we understand that might not be all available, and those are also things that you can change. So if you run a project with the US values, and later you find a value for carbon that you'd rather use, you can go ahead and change that as well, and compare those results. So that was for a country integration, which, as I mentioned, is a process and can be a lot of work. But if you're starting out and you want to do your city, which is the way that the route that a lot of people take, you can add those in through the iTree database. So you would add your location, and if you have any precipitation or pollution data, you would go ahead and add that at the same time. So this is, again, it would allow you to use iTreeEco seamlessly for that city. And, we have some examples of cities who have done that route, and Akshat in particular is a good resource for asking about that process as well. And, I've been talking a lot about how to get information into the database, but the database is also really good for just viewing what's already in there. So you can search the species. So say, there's a species, or you have a certain number of species that are very prevalent in the area that you work in. You can do a quick search and see if they're already on there. There's a good chance that they are, but if they're not, you can go ahead and just add those as you see those gaps. And also, if you see any corrections, the species names often change. We can accept corrections for those as well, or any errors, that if you're, something's characterized as a slow growing tree and you're like, well, I'm not so sure about that. And if you find a good reference, we'll update that. Again, this is a living thing that is getting changed as we keep learning, and is continuously improved. And next, I would encourage you to search your location. So there's a good chance that maybe someone in your country, or in your city, has already added the location into the database. So this is for Ukraine, and Ukraine is integrated, so all their locations should already be in there. But like I said, we get submissions on a weekly basis from different species, locations, and things like that. So I would encourage you there to check there to see if the location has actually already been integrated. So that would also save you some work on that end. And this is kind of the interface of what it looks like to add data. So this is for location. Again, we ask you to kind of narrow it down to the city that you're or municipality that you're working in, as well as provide some general information. Again, the population, the size. So pretty straightforward stuff that you should be able to find, from your government or I don't know if I'd say Wikipedia is the best source, but there's resources out there to help you find this information. And this is what it looks like to add a new species. So we just ask you for the genus and the species, and we'll break down the rest. But again, the percent leaf type, the growth rate and longevity, those are all important characteristics that help the model be better. So, the more, the more information you can submit about the species, it will ensure that the model is more accurate. And this is for adding precipitation. So you choose the year. As of now, we are accepting through the database data until 2021. We will informally start accepting data for 2022, or you can just email that to us, but it's going to take a little while for it to be reflected on here. And but yeah, so through this portal, you would then select where the weather station is, and that's really important obviously for you, but for other people as they're doing their eco projects to be able to select a station that is close to or representative of where their project is. And we will also ask you to format your data into this template. So again, it goes, once you submit it through here, it goes through this auto verification system. And, if there aren't anything major, then you'll, likely just get a response, be like, hey, does this look good? It looks good. And then as our database manager works through these submissions, as she kind of does batch processing, you'll see them available in iTree in about 3-ish months. So again, it's not an instant process. So if that is something that you're going to want to do an iTree eco project, and that there's some data that you would like to be incorporated, I would encourage you to start thinking about that, about how a process for getting it into the database so that it can be available. But that being said, if you already started doing a project and then later you find that you would like to add it back in, you can run your project with a different pollution station and then change it to one that from your city as well. So
Anna, sorry, do you mind repeating that? You were
yeah, I was just saying that if you say you started already doing your project, or you already have an inventory, you can use data from a different place or something like that, kind of as a placeholder. And then once your data is integrated, you can go ahead and change it. It's not like you're stuck with the choice, or something like that. Yeah, so again, the beauty of providing localized benefits with iTree is that we need local data. So we're going to have a couple of our partners who have done this process before and can talk about maybe a little bit about the process, but really how they're using iTree in their home countries now that they've gone through this integration process with us. So I think, is Fabiola first, or I'm not sure who's on deck first.
I think this order looks good. Fabiola, if you're ready, you can share your screen and tell us a little bit about iTree in Mexico.
Yes, yes, please. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jason, could you help me to share the presentation, please?
Sure, give me 1 second.
Thank you very much.
You know what? Why don't we just, if Maria's ready, we can go with Maria, and I'll get your presentation ready for after her.
Okay.
Thanks, Maria. Yeah, we can see your presentation. Yep, presenter mode looks good.
Okay. Hello, my name is Maria Arroyave. I am from Medellin, Colombia, and I am the Urban Ecology Coordinator of the U.S. Forest Service International Programs. And it is a pleasure to be here with you today. I am going to share some experiences with the use of i3 in Colombia. First of all, we have, as you know already, we have i3 integrated to Colombia, so we can use it very easily. Every city in the country can use it. And actually, there are some cities we have been working with all these cities in the country, so they already have their i3 eco projects, and some of them also have i3 canopy. We have worked with i3 in different scales at the individual level, group of trees, neighborhoods, cities, and metropolitan areas. The first project that we developed was in the Apura Valley, in which the city of Medellin is located. Actually, we didn't do like a complete tree inventory. We did a sample inventory, so we established almost 400 plots distributed throughout all the area. And we got these infographics that summarizes all the results that we could share with the community and municipalities so they could be informed about the benefits of the trees. Then we run i3 Canopy, which tells us the tree cover percentage of the city. We did it in Colombia. Actually, we are formulating the urban forest management plan with the municipality of Medellin. And all this data that we got from i3, has been used for the urban forest management plan. So we got our i3 canopy. We also run the i3 Eco, so we have all the carbon storage, sequestration, removal of pollutants, and all the benefits that i3 calculates. And there is something very important that we realized, that in the different comunas that we have in the city, we found that communities with lower economic resources have a lower supply of ecosystem services. So this equity that we are looking for, we don't have that tree equity. So it is a data that we can use to make decisions about planting programs and everything. So this, as the carbon storage and sequestration, the same thing with the pollutant removal. We also have created maps with Google Maps. So everyone can have that has this link in Google Maps. They can see all the services that each tree in the city provides. We have a tree inventory, so we can see the benefits of the trees. We also were interested in the benefits of heritage trees in Medellin. We have about 700 heritage trees. So we run the i3 Eco, and we also have a Google map, so everyone who wants to know the benefits of those trees can open it. And also we run the i3 Eco in a green corridor that was going to be planted. They were going to replace some trees that were old. So we were going to have new plantings, but we could use this forecast, and we could show that these trees are going to grow and they are going to provide benefits as they grow. We also have used iTree in Bogota with the help of the Jardín Botánico, the botanical garden in Bogota. And we also saw that trend that there are some localities that have more ecosystem services than others. We can see it in the carbon and also the pollutant removal. And we also have been working with a community network in Cali, the city in which the COP16 was last October. They have a community network of urban forests, and they also calculated the benefits of those trees. Actually, they have fences in the parks, and they put those fences so everyone who visits the park can see the benefits of the trees. And lastly, is the citizen science activities that we develop, that we implement using MyTree. I mean, I enjoy this citizen science a lot because we involved people from different ages and students, kids, even dogs, pets, sorry, pets. So it is so nice. We invite people from the neighborhoods, from every place in the city. So we teach them how to use MyTree, and they really enjoy, and that generates engagement and this sense of responsibility to take care of trees in their city. So this is my last slide. This is the use of iTree results that we have been using. And I'm going just to read this one, the support for the design of payment of ecosystem services mechanisms, because we have that in the city of Medellin, and the data that iTree provides us helps to calculate this data. Also, how many trees would offset my carbon footprint. That is very important. And I identify the opportunities to involve people in conservation and management, and justification for the investment of maintenance of urban forests, and the recognition of the importance of urban forest by the community. So thank you very much. This is my email, and I will be more than happy to help you with your projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. That was great. You use iTree at so many scales, from the city scale to the community scale to the individual street to using it with citizen scientists in a park. It's pretty awesome to see all the different ways that you're able to use the iTree tools. I was wondering if you would be willing to share one of those links to one of your maps in the chat. I'm sure folks would love to see those too. And we will lean on Maria again next session too to talk more about some of the great work that she's up to with the iTree tools. And with that, Fabiola, I think you're up, and I do have your slides, so I'll go ahead and share those.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Fabiola Lopez. Sorry because I'm not turning on my video, but I have some issues with my connectivity. But well, now I'm gonna talk to you about my experience using iTree in Mexico. Next slide, please. Well, in 2017, I began to work with Davey and the U.S. Forest Service and the integration of different cities to iTree. And particularly, we add data of the main cities of Mexico. We get information about location, about weather or pollution data, and also some maps of the partitions or the different divisions of our country. We also add new species, and we work in the translation of the program and the manuals into Spanish to get the tool ready to use in Mexico. And after that, we begin implementing some pilot projects in Mexico City to try the application, the program, and also to know what we can get from i3. Next, please. And after that, we were given some trainings and supporting the implementation of i3 international tools. We have done in-person and virtual workshops in Mexico, Peru, Guatemala, Salvador, Paraguay. We also give some technical assistance to different NGOs or government partners to implementing urban tree inventory. And also we were supporting the analysis of data or results that we can get with i3 Eco or i3 Canopy. And also we implemented some workshops to help people define some strategies or master plans based on the tree inventory's performance with i3. Next, please. And now, a lot of people is using i3 in Mexico. For example, municipalities or consultants are using i3 to create tree maintenance or management plans. Also, NGOs are using it to encourage community engagement and urban greening efforts. And also, it's used to strengthen advocacy efforts. So we have different experiences and uses, and I think we have a lot of different things we can do with i3. So now I'm gonna talk to you about a bit more some of these experiences. But as you can see in the map, I show you some cities where i3 has been used, and I think there are new projects coming on. So we will have more users, I think. Next, please. So now I'm gonna show you two new applications with i3. We are combining i3 tools with other tools that could be important to get more integrated information. For example, we have a project in the San Marcos neighborhood in Merida City where we combine i3 with a social assessment. So we begin applying a survey to know what was the perception about trees in the community. And after that, we made a tree inventory of the lineal parks of this neighborhood to make a tree trial and some tree tags and share the value of trees. And we use this information we got with i3 to have some activities with the community, with the children, and so they can learn about why trees are important. And also we were using with them My3, that is a tool that is I think it's very useful for citizen science. And other important project is the combination of i3 with SchemaP, that is a tool that gives you information about what civic groups are working in environmental issues. So it lets you identify some connections and to have or create a native collaboration. So we use i3 Canopy to define where are the neighborhoods where we have more green areas or more green canopy cover, where we need to increase it. And also we use canopy to define where we have more their soil, so we have the potential to plant more trees. And combining this information with a map, get it with a SU map that show us how stewards, how many stewards are working in each neighborhood. We overlapping this information to define where we can create new green areas, and also this is we are combining this with the basin information to have more to define better activities to improve the urban green areas or create new spaces. So that's our rapid examples of what we can do with I3. Next, please. And finally, as you can see, I think I3 gives you information about structure and species composition. Also, you have an estimation of the environmental services or the canopy cover. Also, I3 tools give you an economic value of the trees. And all this information can be useful to define strategies to improve tree condition or increase benefits. And also, you can use this information to have some activities to promote community engagement or tree monitoring. And you can work with volunteers or with children or young people to get involved in the care of the trees. So all these steps, as you can see, are very important to make an integral management of urban forests. So I3 tools are very useful to make a good assessment of the urban forest. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, that was great, Fabiola. I think, I talk all the time about how iTree can help connect tree benefits to people, but your work actually measuring perceptions around trees and connecting it to stewardship mapping and understanding the groups that are working there and how to integrate that tree benefits information into actually changing opinions and understanding about trees is really interesting. And I think I'm sure lots of folks on here can benefit from that perspective too. So with that, we've just got a few minutes left, but I think we've got time for Akshat to introduce himself and the work that is going on in India. So Akshat, if you're available, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Thanks, Jason. Can you see my screen?
I think we're getting there. Yep, we got it.
Now, are the slides changing? One second. Are the slides changing?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I've been working in Delhi for the last 5-6 years, since 2019 actually, on I3, and I'll give you a glimpse about why we did this work. So before that, I'll just quickly introduce my organization. So I also work with a Delhi-based tree planting organization called Give Me Trees, and we are basically a tree planting organization, and we work a lot with communities as well. So these are some examples of our work with communities. So till date, we've planted about 22.7 billion trees, and we've worked with more than 600 schools and 700 villages and 200 cities, and we have about 17,000 volunteers working with us. So these are a few examples of the before and after of the sites that we worked at. So looking at this, you might think that Delhi NCR is actually quite green, but I'll tell you the reality of what it really is. My slide is changing, right, Jason? Yeah. So Delhi is one of the most polluted cities in the world, and every year we reach a threshold where sort of an emergency is declared. Usually it happens in the months of November and December and January, the winter months. So that's very typical of Delhi, that in winter months you'll see a huge surge in pollution. But otherwise also we are quite polluted. We were, I think, the fourth most, you were ranked the most polluted capital for the fourth consecutive time. So this is an example of what pollution looks like in Delhi. So the first picture is of a very popular place in Delhi. This is a place called Connaught Place in central Delhi. So this was the first image was during the peak of COVID lockdown. The AQI is 50, and the bottom one is at a usual day. like a normal day, which is then the air quality is 350. So you can see a stark difference in how pollution really, you can see a visual difference in pollution, so to speak. So I'll talk about, so this is a very famous golden circle. So I'll basically talk about why we started iTree, how we did it, and what was the eventual conclusion of using iTree. So we started iTree because Delhi has, even though Delhi has a 23% green cover, but still Delhi is quite polluted. So we wanted to know what is the Green Cover Act, what does the green cover consist of, and is the green cover really effective in removing air pollution, and which species are most effective in removing air pollution. So our intent or our main motivation was figuring out why is Delhi so polluted, and there was no data that could readily help us. There was no tree census conducted in Delhi in the last 20 years. So this is a news article published during COVID. So there was nothing to start off with. So we had to do our own work. So part two is the part two is the how. So how did we collect and analyze data using iTree? So for that, we were a team of 3 people and we went to 400 different locations in Delhi. So we did a sample study of 400 random locations using iTree Eco, of course. So these are the different plots that we went to in Delhi, the blue blips on the map. Uh, and for one plot is basically an area with a 20 meters radius. So we went to all these areas and measured all the trees in these areas. Now, there were 3 of us, so it took us quite a while to travel all across Delhi, and I'll show you the plots also. Some were quite dense, some were not as dense. So again, team of 3 people. It took us about 1.5 years to do all this work, and we went to more than 500 different places actually because some were not accessible. So to cover 400 plots, we had to actually measure more than 400 plots, and these are some of the plots that we went to. So some plots were agricultural, so there were no trees here, probably one tree at the periphery of the farm. Some some plots were denser. So this is a colony in South Delhi. They had more number of trees. Some were even denser. So this is a park in another place in South Delhi. This had about, I think, 50 trees. This is even denser. So this plot was one of the densest that we went to. So this had about 100 different trees in a span of 20 meters. And what conclusion did we arrive at? So we've gone to all these places. We're trying to figure out why is Delhi so polluted. So what conclusion did we arrive at? So the conclusion was, so Delhi has a, the conclusion was Delhi has a 23% green cover. And out of that, if you really look at the number of trees, it's only 8.1%. So only 8.1% tree cover out of a 23% green cover. So the rest would be probably grasses or shrubs, which is not really as effective in combating and absorbing air pollution. Now, out of this 8.1% tree cover, the top 10 species with the highest population accounted for 66% of all the trees. Now, if you drill down into that even more, out of the 66%, 42% were invasive and ornamental, which have less benefits in the air pollution absorption. 14% were naturalized, which have slightly more but not as much, and only 10% were native species. So, in conclusion, Delhi has a very less number of native species that are absorbing air pollution. Now, if you look at the leaf area, compare the leaf area of these different species, which is a very important factor in air pollution absorption. Invasive and ornamental had the least leaf area, naturalized had medium leaf area, and native had the highest. So the root cause is a lack of native species planted in Delhi for Delhi's air pollution. To give you an example of carbon absorbed, so the species on the left is an invasive species called Prosopis juliflora, and this is actually a native of Mexico, if I'm not wrong. This is 27% in Delhi. This is the most popular species in Delhi. Whereas if you look at the species called Ficus religiosa, it's less than 2% in population, but it has almost 50 times more carbon absorption than the invasive species. So this is just carbon absorption. Other numbers are also quite in line. So air pollution and many other numbers are very much in line. So eventually, we can do a lot of things from this. We've done a lot of things from this. This is just the tip of the iceberg what we've shown you, but we can do a lot of things like calculate carbon absorbed air pollution and rainfall potential evapotranspiration, and we can do all these different things as well. So we'll talk about that in the next few sessions that we have. But there is a lot more to be done, and a lot more we've actually done, and a lot more still to be done. So that's it.
Thanks, Akshat. That was great. And thanks to all of our international resource experts. Akshat, always amazes me that in a city of 36 million folks, you took 3 people to try and assess all the forests in Delhi and come up with some real actionable goals about strategic management that can help with the pretty significant air pollution problem there. So I just want to thank all of our presenters, all of our speakers, and everybody in our audience for sticking around. We look forward to talking to you all again next week. And you'll hear from Liza about more details about that, and we will update the website with this recording and some of the resources that we mentioned today. And if there's anything in the chat that we missed, we'll try and get that answered as well. And always feel free to reach out to us at that info@itreetools.org if you have any questions. Anybody else on the team? Any final messages?
Yeah, let me just pipe up here, Jason. Thank you for that, and thank you to our team for putting this together. But also thank you to those who are working behind the scenes, from Davey to the Forest Service, on ensuring that iTree is always working and being updated. I know that that's a lot of hard work. So until next time, I will be sending out a new Zoom link for the next go around. Those who were in one room today as a group, if you haven't emailed me or texted me or chatted up with me, please send me the list of people in your group. It really helps me with attendance. So with that, I'll just leave it there and turn it over to anybody else who wants to have a final word.
Did I miss it, Liza, or did we give a shout out to our winner of
the winner. That was really impressive. So it is Maliha Momtaj, and I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, from Bangladesh, currently pursuing a master's in soil science and working as a graduate research assistant at the Texas A&M University. So congratulations on winning a spot in track 2.
I don't know how she guessed it or knew it. It's not in writing anywhere. It's all in the iTree team's head. So
it must have taken some serious sleuthing. Yes.
Yeah, there's got to be something somewhere. But I'll do a little sleuthing too.
I mean, everybody. I think almost everybody got it right except for the inventory part.
I love all of the names here. I wish you guys were around about 18 years ago or 16 years ago when we named this. And for the last, just quickly, and we got to go, but if you notice the small I with the dash, the reason there's a dash in there because Apple has a trademark with anything that begins with a small I. And, that was when the iPad, the iPhone, all of those came out. So they actually came and requested that the Forest Service not have it iTree, and then they said what, and then we agreed to put a dash in it. So that's where there's a dash. So it worked out pretty well. So inventory of tree resources, economic and environmental, and it's just that name has stuck. So we had a long name for it way in the beginning, and I sat down with another person and we said, we got to get something that people can make sense of. So the rest is history.
Thanks, Dr. Dave.
I'm looking forward to meeting all of you next week. I'll introduce you my tree. Try it out on your own. You don't need a lot of guidance, but I'll just show you a couple examples of some work we've done here in the U.S.
Perfect. And for our iTree Academy organizing team, I'll put us in a separate breakout room now so that we could just quickly debrief, and to everybody else, have a great week.
Bye-bye, everybody.